Hello, Rona. Thank you so much for joining us at the Storytelling by and for Adult series on Monday, December 5th, 2022. Please introduce yourself fully. Tell us where you're telling from, and tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
I will. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Eric. I find it a great honour to be amongst all of you guys. I just think it's wonderful. I mean, Zoom brought me back to life again because I thought not being able to go out and meet people and tell stories was going to just be disastrous, but this has been wonderful. So yes, I'm a storyteller. I'm a lifelong storyteller, started telling stories when I was just a child to my little brother, because it's long-standing a family tradition. And we can trace back storytellers in my family to the 1800s, and I'm very proud of that fact. And story means a whole lot to me, and I use storytelling in my work, working with teenagers who are either disadvantaged or disengaged from whatever. And it's a very powerful medium because it does strike home. And you can use stories in so many different ways, and you can bend them and shape them to fit the situation. And the young people buy into that big time, and then they always want to tell their own story. And that's what I aim for, is for them to be able to tell their own story. But I'm unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything zooming into the Chennai Festival in February, because I'm going to be in Marrakesh. I need to see how the dates work out. I've been invited to go and tell in the Marrakesh Festival in February as well. So, and the story that I'm going to tell when I'm there, I'm going to share with you now, because it takes place in Marrakesh. And this story is about a young woman. And she's not just any young woman. She's quite special. Not because she's beautiful, because most of the young women in that country have got that look where they're really stunning. But she goes above and beyond that. She's also clever. She's intelligent. But she does nothing except turn up at the market day after day to speak to people. She knows everybody, and everybody knows her. And she's waiting for the main event of her life as she sees it. She's waiting for her knight in shining armour to come and sweep her off her feet and take her to a wonderful new life. Now, some people feel sorry for her and think, this poor girl, is that all she can think about? Because every day she'll come and say, well, do you think it will be today? Do you think my knight in shining armour will turn up today? And of course, some people don't know what to say, so they just say, well, maybe, just wait and see. And others will say, well, you know, these things will happen when they're ready to happen. Some people are irritated by it and think, for goodness sake, you know, get a life, do something. Don't just wander about wondering when your knight in shining armour turns up. It might never come. And then there are others who actually get annoyed and get quite angry at how this young woman is wasting her life just wandering around looking for her knight in shining armour. And one of those people is the fortune teller. And she has her stall right at the edge of the market. And she's usually the last person that the young woman would speak to in the day. And as she strolls up to her on this particular day to ask that same question that she has asked 100 times, do you think it will be today? Do you think he'll come today? Well, the fortune teller has just lost it now. She's lost her patience with the girl. And she said, for goodness sake, what makes you think that you deserve to have a knight in shining armour come and sweep you off your feet? Why not me? Why not any of the other young women in the market? Which was quite comical, because the fortune teller was actually quite an aged lady. But, you know, you get her point. Why should it be this young woman? And she says, well, I think I deserve it because I'm a very good person. And I know that if you're good and you behave well and you help others, she had never helped anybody in her life. But if you're good, then your dreams will come true. And I'm dreaming of my knight in shining armour. And I've got especially a very good heart. I've got a perfect heart. And this enrages the fortune teller. You've got a perfect heart. You don't know what a perfect heart is, my dear. Well, the young woman is quite horrified, and she pulls back her blouse, and remarkably, her heart is exposed. For real. And it is perfect. It's pink and pulsating. And she said, see, look, not a mark on it. I can see that only too well, said the fortune teller, because that's the problem. Would you like to see what a good heart really looks like? And she pulled back her blouse and exposed her heart. And the young woman was, oh no, that's grotesque. Oh, that's terrible. What's happened? Because the fortune teller's heart was cut and bruised and had pieces stuck here and bits sticking out of there. And it wasn't pink, it was a kind of purplish colour. But it was pulsating, beating well. That's horrific. And the fortune teller said, no, my dear, that heart is well used, well battered and well bruised, but I feel no pain, I only feel joy. But why does it look like that? And she said, for exactly the opposite reason of why yours looks like that. Yours is pink and unblemished because it's never been used. When was the last time you told your mother you loved her? Well, I don't need to tell my mother I love her. She knows. When was the last time you told anybody you loved them? Well, I don't know. I don't think, well, that's the problem, my dear. If you expect love to come to you, you first of all have to give away some of your heart. Give away some of my heart? Yes. Because otherwise, if your young knight in shining armour does turn up and he wants to give you a piece of his heart, where is it going to go? What do you mean? Where is it going to go? Well, where will you put it? And the penny dropped. She said, oh, I get it. Yours looks like that because it's got a whole lot of different pieces of somebody else's heart. Yes, my dear, that's how it works. Well, if I give you a piece of my heart, she says to the fortune teller. And the fortune teller said, yeah, I'd be mightily grateful, but why would you give me a piece of your heart? You don't love me. Why don't you go home and give your piece of your heart to your mother and let her know how much you love her? And then there'll be a space for your knight in shining armour when he turns up. If he decides to give you a piece of his heart, now you'll have somewhere to put it. Oh, she squealed with delight, this young woman. So there's even more chance that it will happen? Well, now that you understand what love is, perhaps we shall see. Did that young woman ever get her knight in shining armour? Well, that's a story for another time.
Okay, wonderful. So in our first story, it was words that were playfully symbolized as objects. And in this story, it's love that is spoken about metaphorically as pieces of heart.
I love the playfulness of the story and the way you created the character of the fortune teller as a crusty, wise old woman. I really
I was
enjoyed
thinking of
the
myself,
exchange.
Joe.
You know, we gravitate to the stories we need and the stories we relate to. But if you're that crusty old storyteller, Rona, more power to you. Where in Scotland are you?
At the moment, I'm just outside Edinburgh in a place called Portobello. I am Scottish, I'm Glaswegian, but I don't spend a lot of time in Scotland, sadly. I live in Altrincham, and I spend a lot of time in Italy, which I retired to Italy in 19 something or other, can't remember. No, 2002, sorry, I retired. But I've never been able to stay there because I've got 6 grandchildren and I don't trust my children to look after them. So I keep coming
understand.
back. You mothers there will get that, I'm sure.
I've got
keep
5.
sharing.
Hmm?
Rona keeps sharing the piece of her heart with her grandchildren.
Yes, I do. They like that story, actually. Yeah, they love it. I test all the stories out on my grandchildren, and if they approve, then I carry them forward. And if they don't, I do a wee bit more work on them until they say, yes, Granny, that'll do.
What I liked about the telling was, the way you kept using the words like piece of my heart, piece of my heart. It made me feel connected with the idea that how a piece of me is there in your story while you were telling and sharing the story.
That is lovely. Thank you. Yeah, please pass it on. I didn't write that story. Well, I wrote that version of a story that's an ancient traditional tale. But please pass it on.
Oh, that's in part, it's a traditional story?
Well, yes and no. There was a story of a young person who, was entitled in life as far as they were concerned. They deserved everything and wanted everything. It wasn't really a story about romance, but I just turned it around because I think that made it a wee bit more understandable for especially younger people. Yeah.
Rona, where was the original story from? What tradition?
Oh, Barry, I can't remember.
Okay.
I've been telling it for quite a long time. I will think back. I had a brain hemorrhage in 2015, and I thought I would never be able to tell stories again. I thought I would never remember them, but they keep coming back. Every now and again, something will trigger a story, and I'll think, oh, I remember that. So when I do, I'll think long and hard about that, Barry, and I'll let you know. But if I
It's
don't
somewhere
remember,
it's in your pickle jar.
in a pickle jar. Do you know, I use a jar as well, Eric. I use a jar when I'm telling people about positive mental attitude. I tell them to put it in their jar and keep the lid tight and put it in their kitchen cupboard. And when they get up in the morning, when they're having their coffee or their tea, put a couple of spoonfuls of positive mental attitude in it. And some of them look at me as if I'm from a different planet, but it works. Positive mental attitude is a very powerful thing, and you can't see it and you can't feel it, but if it's in there, you can use it. Anne's just given me hers. She knows about the positive mental attitude jar.
So you're on the planet of metaphor. Metaphor planet.
When I went back to Italy in April, I had been away for a while. I had been away for about 4 months, and I went to get my internet reconnected, and I was told I couldn't have it because now I'm an alien. An alien? An alien, I beg your pardon? Because I am no longer, being a Brit and no longer a member of the European Union, we are now described as aliens. I did eventually get my internet reconnected because I've got residency there. Rather, I don't have an Italian passport, and to be considered a European, you have to have an Italian passport or another European country, obviously. And they made me feel the difference. I felt as if I had the guilt of every single Brit on my back for going for Brexit. So I'm sure those that did vote for it are sorry now. I didn't. I didn't either.
One of the English language's many, many irregularities is that to give a piece of one's heart obviously is a loving thing, but to give a piece of my mind is an angry thing, right? I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. That's an angry thing.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to steal that, Eric.
You got
have
it.
your permission. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. If I give you a piece of my heart, it's given very lovingly, but if I give you a piece of my mind, you will not forget it in a hurry. No, that's grand. Love that. So,
But then flip the metaphor. If I've never shared my mind, I don't have any places for the piece of your mind to enter it.
this could go on all day, Joe. Yeah, that's very true. I wish I could stay and hear all the stories, but I've got to get back down to England, sadly. It is one of those things about wanting to be everywhere and doing everything with storytelling. I was performing last night in the Scottish Storytelling Theatre with my friend Anne here, whom I stayed with last evening. And it was a wonderful show. There was 8 storytellers all telling in the theatre for Winter Warmers, it was called. So yeah, and I do still get about a bit. I don't let things hold me back, but I would love to come to Chennai one day. I was telling Eric earlier that I met a lady at another thing that I was at in November, and she was from Chennai. So she's invited me to come over and stay with her. So you might be seeing me soon, Eric.
Please come.
You
Please
never
come.
Yeah.
You know, part of my thing I do here, especially before the pandemic, was when people come, especially from the USA and Europe, UK, I help them, you know, explore the interior of Tamil Nadu and meet artists and scholars all over the place.
Yes, it'd be wonderful. It's
The
on my bucket
interior,
list.
the interior goes into the mountains. The rhythm of life in Tamil Nadu is we start on the coast and we go up into the mountains.
Yeah, wow. That's a metaphor in itself. Yeah, the climb.
Mm-hmm.
When you reach the pinnacle. Barry, I've not seen you for ages. Do you not go on any of the Zooms around?
I'm sorry?
I haven't seen you for a long time. Do you not join any of the Zooms that are around over there in the US?
I join when I can. Well, when I can, but a lot of them I don't. I try to come here when I can every month, and I just keep very busy. So.
Yes. No, that's good.
Barry actually gets paid to go into schools and work in schools.
Yeah, that's what I used to do. I did that for about 20 years, actually, here in the UK. Yes. It's very worthwhile to teach children storytelling. I don't know what it's like in other countries, to be fair, with regards to storytelling and education. But here it used to be a big, big part of their education was the teacher telling you stories. And then, I don't know, about 20 years ago, the curriculum changed entirely. And it was all about the statistics and the management of the school. And oh my goodness, it was not child-centered at all. And the children didn't get stories and they weren't getting them at home. And they make such a difference. I mean, it's, you know, it's where children get their language, but it's also where they make sense of where they fit in the world. And, you know, are they needed? Do they belong? Because they don't get that at home.
Mm-hmm.
Vina's got her hand up. Sorry, Vina.
Vina, go ahead. You've got to turn your mic on. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is such a beautiful space. Yes, the heart and the pieces are there everywhere. Let's stitch them up. I do a lot of storytelling as a volunteer at the government schools. I've been going there now after retirement for the past 3-4 years. And these are children who come from not so privileged places, homes. So they really wait for storytellers like us to come there, and I teach them English, but it also happens that we teach them many other things through stories, isn't it? Self-esteem, positivity, and sharing our love and language and culture and everything. Yes, it is healing for them. And I actually have special permission from that school, from the teachers who are very cooperative and they permit me, though I am not some brand or I don't have my own company or anything like that. So I go there once a week and you can see the faces of the children light up, and that's the joy, the pieces of your heart that you've given them, and they just come back to you. So yes, big schools in India, yes, they do have storytelling. I've worked in Singapore where, yes, we taught through stories. I've been an early childhood and a primary school teacher. So we taught through stories now, which were termed as STEM and STEAM. We never knew all those words in those days. Rona, would like to hear you, Mike, please.
I had a very unusual upbringing, Veena, because my parents were blind and we learned everything through language. So we didn't think our family was unusual, because you don't, when you're a child, you think it's just like everybody else. But my father used to give us a new word every day to learn, and we ended up having just the most incredible language skills even when we started school. So, and storytelling is about language as well. It's about using the right language too. And children, I find their vocabulary is getting less and less because they're not getting it fed into them, you know. I mean, you'll know yourself, those of you who do go into schools, you can tell almost immediately the children that have been told stories, because their vocabulary is much, much better, and their imagination. So it's a very powerful thing. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. I think I've taken up my time quite enough, Eric. It's been wonderful, and thank you so much. I'm going to stay in here, hopefully the next story, and then I have to fly. So, but thank you very much for listening, folks, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.